I'm very excited, everybody. We have living legend Enson. Now, Enson, before I even say your last name, I've heard people pronounce it different ways. What's the correct Japanese way to say? Is it Inoue or Inoue? Many
Inoue.
different Inoue.
Yeah.
Inoue. Enson Inoue, everyone, and his
Oh,
brother
perfect.
Egan and Enson for over 25 years at least have been influencing many people out there. So it's a pleasure to have you today, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm doing a lot of these interviews as well is because I wanted to talk about the spiritual side of combat. I know some people don't look at it that way. Some people think it's just punching and kicking and wrestling and gladiators going at it, but many people get into it for different reasons. Some people just for the competition. So I'm trying to get different perspectives, but for me at least, and I think that you're going to be a good person to have on about this. For me, it helped me deal with traumas that I went through when I was younger, and certain physical and mental stress that I went through. And it was sort of a way of me facing my fears and getting out of trouble. I was, a lot of my fears were letting me get into trouble when I was younger in many different ways. And it helped me face those fears. And it's almost like whether you're competing or not, when you step in there, it's almost stepping into like a spiritual sanctuary with your coach, or whether it's in the cage, in the ring, or just in practice. And it changes you, it humbles you, it makes you a different person. So before we even get into your career and all of that, is there a spiritual side to you getting into martial arts? Because I know you come from a martial arts family, your brother Egan and your father, and I think different people were in martial arts. So for you, was it like mandatory growing up for you to get into martial arts, or did you like choose it?
No, well, my father actually didn't do any martial arts. He just liked to street fight a lot. My mother actually went to brown belt in karate because her father was a black belt, my grandfather. So we were never forced into any type of martial art, but we're kind of encouraged to go to karate. And the thing with me was really funny because when I was like, I'd say about 7 or 8, I went into a karate class, and I think the second or third class, when the sensei was walking around checking everybody's stance by tapping their legs to see if they're sturdy, I fell.
He swept you?
And I remember,
He,
yeah, he
he
swept
swept your
me. And
legs?
then I remember his name was Daryl Lee. And all I remember is getting up, running out of class crying, and never went back to karate again. And it was kind of weird because I don't remember my dad telling me, don't be a pussy, go back to class. He just kind of like, okay, you're done with karate and you don't need to go back. So that was my first experience with martial arts.
Wow. And for people who don't realize, I mean, both of your cultures, like Hawaii and Japan, are fight cultures, but sort of in different ways. I mean, Hawaii is, for people that don't know out there, I mean, you guys, it's a real fight on the street type culture growing up. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, did you grow up in sort of a fight culture? Because I know in Japan, it's more like a competition fight culture, not really accepted on the streets to brawl it out like that. But in Hawaii, you guys grow up very rough.
Yeah, in Hawaii, there's a lot of street fights. Well, back in the day, me being American Japanese, we're the smaller people in the classes. So, back in the day before people really knew martial arts, the bigger person was the stronger person. So we get, a lot of the other Japanese kids would get their money taken away from the Hawaiian and the Samoan kids. So you either gave away your money and always had your lunch money taken away, or you fought back, caused a rift, and always pretty much had to fight for the whole year. So I was the latter that decided to not let them take my money. And it was a continuous battle because I did stand up to them. Of course, I did gain some respect, but I didn't gain respect to a point where they'd leave me alone. So every time, there's times I'm running an errand for a teacher, walking to the office, and I walk past one of their classes, they'll come out and start trying to fight.
Trying to punk you.
The lunch, yeah, they'll try to punk me with 2 or 3 guys coming out. There's so it was a continuous thing throughout the school year, and it was just something that I either had to give in and let them bully me, or just have to deal with that for the 3 years that I was in that intermediate school.
Wow. So growing up, were you already looking at combat sports and maybe even Western boxing or kickboxing or anything like that and saying, wow, someday I want to try this? Or did
No,
that?
nobody knew how to fight back then, so it was pretty much the guy who wouldn't give up was the one that's probably going to win the fight. So I didn't feel like martial arts was that important when I was younger. But as I got to high school, everyone's gets bigger and it gets a lot more dangerous. So that's when I decided that, to be better prepared on the street, I went and sought out all different types of martial arts. I mean, I did hapkido, taekwondo, aikido, karate. I mean, I went through all the arts and trying to find the best of the best, and
Wow.
even
Wow.
did
You
some
already
Wing
had a mixed
Chun.
martial arts mind already, you know?
Yeah, I mean, of course, back in the day, fighting is on the feet, so we didn't know. So I had a big wake up call when I first stepped into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and you know, when I first went, it was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was actually a non-credit college course in the University of Hawaii.
Wow.
So I went to the class. I saw a video of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in action. One of the a Brazilian
Yeah.
guy was playing it at the lunch, the lunch rooms, and he
Yeah.
was trying to attract students. When I saw it, I was like, "Wow, that looks pretty cool. I'll try it out." So I
And
actually
and most of them
enrolled.
they're beating all karate guys in most of those videos too, right? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I was like, "Man, that looks real." So I wanted to test it. So I enrolled in the class, went to the class, and the first class we had there was like straight up self defense. Like you grab here, you swing your arm, and you know how they had the Gracies have that self defense class.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, this is nothing like what I saw. This doesn't look like street fighting. So after class, there was a little black belt guy that was probably about 140 pounds, and he was in the. And I went to Helson and I asked Helson if I could, feel what the ground sparring is like. And he said, "Yeah, sure." So when everyone left class, he let me roll with that little Brazilian guy, and I felt that he had a black belt around his waist, so I'm thinking that yeah, he's probably technically better than me, but I'm like 20 pounds
You're
heavier
gonna
than
muscle
him.
them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking there's no way this guy's going to beat me up. And when I started sparring with him, I remember him like really systematically just getting to my back and sinking in the choke. And before I even know what tapping is and stuff, Chelsea tells him to stop. And I kind of knew that I was kind of in a bad position. So I was like, fuck, one more time. So I think we wrestled like 3 times, and he did the same thing 3 times in a row. And that's when I was like, man, I gotta learn this. And I always
I know
felt
that
that, if
feeling
I
too.
saw
Oh my God.
yeah, if
It's
I
the
saw
most
this guy
humbling
on the
thing when someone
beach,
can strangle you.
yeah, and it's like when I always thought that if I saw this guy on the beach, I wouldn't think anything. I mean, I wouldn't think I'm in danger at all if I had a confrontation with that guy. But phew, I would have been screwed if I did. So it kind of was a wake up call for me to realize that being big isn't the best thing in fighting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
No.
when I dove right into the martial arts, and I decided to keep training. I think it was Jet Kundo, Wing Chun for the hands, Muay Thai for when you're in the distance, and um, Jiu Jitsu for when you get to the ground. So it was all for the street though. And the interesting thing that you want your whole topic is about the spiritual aspect of MMA is a lot of people nowadays are getting into the sport for money and for fame and for to make a living, to provide for their family, which isn't that spiritual when you think about it.
No.
But for
Yeah.
me,
Prize
the,
fighting.
the
Yeah.
reason, yeah, prize fighting. The reason why I got into the whole thing was because I remember watching a show where a car turned over and the guy had his family in the car. Car caught on fire, and he got out of the car, crawled out of the window because it was upside down. And out of panic, he couldn't open the door to save his family, and his family died. I remember thinking that, and thinking that, oh man, you have to control your anxiety, you have to control your fear. And I felt that I linked that to I used to be a racquetball player, so I linked that to racquetball because you can be in a racquetball court and you can hit a shot 99% of the time, but all of a sudden when you get in the court, you got the same racket, same size court, and you only can hit it 60% accurately. And it's the only thing that's different is the anxiety and the jitters and the fear that you have with the the anxiety of
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear
So
shuts you down. Yeah. It
yeah,
makes you sick. It can
exactly.
make
And
you
if
sick. It opens you up to being sick. Yeah.
yeah,
Horrible.
yeah, and if you get into a life and death situation, can you imagine the anxiety you're gonna experience in a split second? If you get into a car accident, boom, your loved one's on the ground bleeding, and you got to do a tourniquet, or you got to hold the wound. You
Yep.
call the cops. You got to call
Your
the ambulance.
decision
All
making
these things.
shuts down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you're in a panic state, you know, depending how controlled you can be, it'll depend on how efficient you will actually become in that life and that situation. So no, when in my racquetball career, as I got better, it got to a point where I never got to a point where I could be the same practice player on the tournaments, but I got pretty close where it was pretty. I knew I was controlling my anxiety, and as I was training jujitsu for the streets, Hickson Gracie came up to fight in Japan on Vale Tudo. I think it was Vale Tudo 1995, and I was one of Helson's top students, so we're really close to all the brothers, Hoyce, Hickson, Hoyler.
Yeah.
And when it came up, I got tickets to watch Hickson fight. And I remember when Hickson won, it had David Luvecki, had all these huge guys in it. Had Nishi. Nishi's a big boy too. And I remember thinking, holy shit, I'm a little bit worried for Hickson. And I remember when he won the fight, I remember jumping up on my seat. I'm not the type of guy that cheers like that. I'm the type of guy that stays silent and maybe makes a fist quietly. And yes, he might, my guy won. When Hickson won, I guess the anxiety from the fear of him possibly losing, I jumped up on the seat and started screaming, and I caught myself, and I was thinking that's where it dawned on me, like, wow, I'm not even in the ring. I'm I'm watching a friend fight, and I can't even control my anxiety. So right there, my whole head clicked on. I was on a mission that I was going to use the martial art to be a stronger man, be able to control my anxiety and my fears. So I figured, if I'm getting that excited watching a friend fight, can you imagine being in the ring one-on-one with somebody else across? The anxiety would just be like probably uncontrollable. So that was my whole mission. The reason why I started fighting wasn't because it was something to make money. It wasn't to get famous. It was about strengthening myself as a man and building myself as a person. So in the situation where I really will need my heart to be strong and being able to control my emotions, I would be ready.
Now, was your brother Egan already competing when you started competing?
No, Egan was still in racquetball, and he actually started competing after I did. And
Wow.
Egan, on the other hand, if you were to interview Egan, it's a totally different thing. He did it because he wanted to make money. He did it because he had no
Yeah.
spiritual part of the martial art. He was more about make money, win a belt, be a world champion. I could have given a shit about how much money I was making, whether a belt was on the line. It didn't matter for me.
Yeah, you had this you could tell you have this spiritual fire about you. I always could tell. You know what? And I could tell how much you cared about other people and how much like things meant just by the way your brother Egan supported you and was around you during the Frank Shamrock fight. That was, I think, the first time I really found out about you. And I remember like when it was a battle, man. You guys went back and forth. At one point, you had it mounted and all this stuff going on, right? So at the end, when like when Frank Shamrock finished you, he was about to start unloading on you when you were already done, and your brother was already in the ring, and you could just see the way that he was protecting you, that the bond that you guys had and the love and the way he cared. It was like it made me like want to be your brother. Right? Like I was like, wow, I wish those guys were my brothers, it was like it was like emotional thing for me just seeing that. So that made me realize, like, the bond and that sort of side. I mean, I could sense it. So was that, did you even realize like what was going on at that point, or like in that fight, did you realize that Egan was like in the ring, like saving you from getting hit
No,
anymore?
no, I didn't. I actually didn't. All I knew was I was on the ground. I know I saw like the referee coming, and then all of a sudden it was like feet all over, and I was like, "Oh shit! I'm going to get trampled."
Wow. That's incredible. And then like the next fight, I think you actually beat Randy Couture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's intense,
So
man. So
you know the the funny thing. Look at the whole thing is, you look at my career, and now I tell you the reason why I fought was to test myself, to build my heart, to build my strength in my spirit. And if you really think about it, to build yourself, you're not going to take, today you see the fighters saying, "Oh, I'll beat him in 1 round. I'll beat this guy in 2 rounds." I don't think I've ever took a fight thinking I'll beat this guy. I always thought, I always looked at the guy and said, "This guy will push me to my limit. This guy might break me. I want to feel that and I want to experience that
100%.
to become a stronger man. Not to win a belt, not to look good, but to put myself in this crazy situation that I'm either going to break or I'm going to get stronger."
Yeah, I think just the casual people might not have understand that part of you, but for those that were like training, like myself, and those that were real fans, they understood the fire you were walking into. That you were like literally fighting the best in the world when you actually should have been cultivated for a long more. That's a good question. I would like to, and like don't like, a lot of times they need to cultivate fighters, like some of the promotions that you were fighting in. It's almost like you should be cultivated for years and years before you even get there. Like when you get to those major promotions, you should already be seasoned fighter. You should be ready to fight the best in the world. But some people like yourself were walking into these major promotions with little, if no experience fighting the elite of the world. So what do you think about that? You think nowadays that they throw people to the fire too fast, that they should be cultivated a lot more? Because even sometimes when people come from backgrounds that they already have fighters in their family, even more so with them, they're thrown to the wolves.
Well, yes, I think, and nowadays I think it's you need to prepare a fighter better. They need to be have experience, be versed in all the different, the standing, the grappling, the takedowns, the striking, everything. Because I think back in our day we could get away with that because it was so raw. You had glaring weak points in each fighter. This guy was a striker with no ground. This was a
Yeah, it
Jesus guy that didn't know how to strike.
was
This
like
was a
style versus
wrestler.
style.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a wrestler that only could throw haymakers, but when he took you to the ground, he couldn't finish. So you know that makes it where someone like me that comes in with just that ferocity, I actually survived. But nowadays, man, I mean, people ask me like, "How do you think you would do today?" I think I would have a hard time. For one, the there's no weak points in every fighter,
yeah,
and two, they stop the fights way too early.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It's intense, man. And well, a lot of people that many people don't even realize that. I think that they don't talk about it, at least not some more. But you had a hand in helping bring up a lot of the famous fighters that were even came out in Japan and things like that. Like, did you at one time, were you married to Kid Yamamoto's sister?
Yes.
And you helped raise a child with her as well, right?
Yeah. I helped raise Urson when from
That's
he
right.
was from 3 to 7,
Yeah, he
and I
fought.
brought
He's another one that got thrown to the fire. Speaking of get thrown to the fire, I mean, this guy had to fight Kron Gracie his first
he got
MMA.
thrown to the fire in the day and age today that the fighters are super versed in everything. And he's not fighting anymore. I mean, I don't know if he's even fighting anymore, but he hasn't fought for like 3 years now. And maybe it's just that was just too much for him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's intense. So, um, you had a big hand in Kim Kid Yamamoto's career at the beginning, right? Like, were you you were there for when he got contracts with K1 and all that, right? So can you talk about
Yeah,
that a little bit?
I brought him into fighting because Kid Yamamoto got into a situation with the Yakuza. I was able with my connections to get him out of that problem. but because the college and the wrestling association found out about the problem, he was expelled from school, and he was put on probation from the wrestling. He couldn't wrestle. So I talked to him. I said, hey, you can't wrestle. I said, you better keep moving. So when you can wrestle again, you'll be, ready to still wrestle. So I put him into the gym, said, hey, well, let's try this mixed martial arts. And he fell in love with it.
That's crazy because in Japan, I mean, once it's sort of outed that you have Yakuza connections, I guess sponsors shut down and all that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yes. I mean, it was kind of known in Pride, but um, once it came public, like that's when a lot of problems happened. Did it happen when it all came out in the papers with the Emeliankos? Was that something happened with the Emeliankos with they started getting muscled or something with, I don't know if it
Well,
was
it's
that.
just that the whole thing went public,
Yeah,
and that Pride had connections with the Yakuza.
yeah, it's not really.
Everybody knew. Everybody knew, but it went public. That was a big bad thing.
Yeah, it's interesting too with the Yakuza. My buddy Masaki, who's Japanese, he was telling me that isn't a lot of, well, they don't speak about it as well, but a lot of them, a high percentage of them are actually Korean, right? And it's not really spoken about though.
Korean, yeah, a lot of Japanese people are Korean. Also, there's a lot of Chinese involved. Also,
Yeah, that's interesting, man. And so you
yeah.
you
So,
you go ahead.
going back to Kid, yeah, I'm the one who went and got his K1 contract, and
That
because he was more of a grappler than a striker, I made sure that all his fights were half MMA, half kickboxing. It was the first and it was the last ever in K1 to have a fighter be able to fight
Oh,
mixed
that's
martial
right.
arts
They
in K1.
they alternated the rounds, right?
Yes, yes. I made sure that
Wow,
happened. Yeah.
that's right. They're actually using that setup right now in either one or Demetrius Johnson is doing it with somebody, I think.
Ah,
Uh,
he's doing it.
Rod
Yeah.
Tang.
First round Muay Thai, second round MMA. Yeah.
Yep. Wow. So right here, man, Enson was the one who came up with that. That's so crazy. That is crazy. So yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, I remember when uh Kid Yamamoto, he was calling out Masato at that time. Did that cause problems between what was going on as well?
Yeah.
Like
What happened? Yeah. What happened with Kid is I got him a contract for 2 years. It was 4 fights a year, $50,000 a fight. And that was back in the day when he was fighting for like 1,000, 2,000 a fight in Shooto.
wow.
Yeah, so that was a pretty big contract. And after his first 4 fights, after he beat Nalanton, the Mongolian kickboxer, because of course the rules are half MMA. After he beat Nalanton, um, he became like a real big superstar. And when he got into the Yakuza problem, the when he came to me, we put him in MMA. After the 2 year probation was over, he was reinstated into wrestling. But Kid told me he didn't want to wrestle. He wanted to continue MMA. And I said, I'll support you. His dad calls me, which the dad is like an Olympic wrestler and his whole life is wrestling. The
Yeah.
dad called me and said, make Kid wrestle, make him quit MMA. I said, I can't do that. He goes, Enson, but the Olympics is next year. I need him to go to the Olympics. And I was like, well, if you're going to go to Olympic level, he needs his heart in it. And he doesn't want to wrestle. So the dad got pissed off and disowned Kid. So I took care of Kid, bought him a car, paid his electricity, paid his rent, everything, took care of the Kid. And after the first 4 fights of K1 contract, when he became a big star, the father all of a sudden decides he wants to be a part of it again.
Yeah.
So behind my back, he starts negotiating for a fight with Masato for, I think it was, he wanted to get $2 million. K1 had a problem with that because we have a contract for 50,000 a fight. And they came to me and I said, who's talking to you? He said, what the hell's going on? So I contacted Kid. He pretended like he didn't know about it.
Damn.
And I contacted the dad. I said, hey, stop doing what you're doing. He said, oh, it's about promotion, about talent, about commercials. I said, if you're talking about the acting, the talent, the commercials, that side of it, fine. I said, but as far as the fight side, I'm taking care of it. We have an agreement with K1. I'm going to honor the agreement till the 2 year period is over. He said, okay. Next day, he's back at K1 office doing it again.
Yeah.
So I straight up told Nori that, Kid. I told Kid that if your dad's going to be involved, I'm out. And what happened then was the next fight he had after he beat Naranton, he all of a sudden, without me even knowing, grabs the mic and says, Masato, I want to fight you in the new year. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here?
Wow.
So him and his dad had that
That
thing
was a
going.
big thing.
And
Yeah.
yep. And I just said, you know what? If that's the case, I'm out. If your dad's gonna be getting involved and renicking shit. And after I stepped out, K1 contacted me and they had a big problem because the dad demanded that they renegotiate the contract or he's not going to fight for K1 anymore. So K1 in that situation, they could easily have sued him for breach of contract. But they don't want to do that because they're going to lose their big star. And I think Nori's dad knew that and used that as an ace up the sleeve.
Wow. I mean, yeah, Genki Sudo and Kid Yamamoto, they were some of their biggest stars back then. I think, didn't they, those two fought in Heroes later on, I think too. I think
yeah, they ended up fighting later on. Yeah. So since the Masato fight, I stepped back and the father took care of everything after that. And I just didn't want to, I'm a man of my word. If I tell you he's fighting for you for 2 years, 4 fights a year, 8 fights for 50 grand a fight, no matter how big a star he is, he's going to finish off the contract. If he lost all 4 fights, first 4 fights, you're still going to honor $50,000 a fight for 4 fights. There was a gamble we took. He was going to be a big star and we're going to be underpaid, or he was going to flop and he was going to be overpaid. Of course, either way, both people should hold on to their agreement. And I didn't like the way the dad did things, and I just stepped back. And that's what happened with me and Kid, actually.
Yeah, well, even though that, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that because I always wanted to know, because that was you guys had a huge connection, like you were part of his family basically for a while, and then I always wondered what was going on with all that, and then I heard that it was because of the Masato call out and all that. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. This is fight history for those that don't know. This is a piece of fight history, and it's
what
very
the real interesting thing is before we parted, the dad tried to get me to sign a contract that he told me, hoping that I couldn't read Japanese. He told me that this is a contract just that him and this other guy named Kazama Ken was going to start taking over the talent side of Kid, like the TV shows, commercials, that kind of stuff. And I just felt weird about it. So what I did was I said, let me go over this. And they thought I was going to sign it there. I told him, let me go over this. I took it. And I noticed when I grabbed the contract up, the guy tried to grab it out of my hands. And then for real, then I knew right there I needed this contract. So I went back, took the contract to some of my friends. One of my gangster friends read the contract, got so pissed off at the contract, he called Kid right there and said, fuck you. Next time we see on this show, we're going to beat you up. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I made the guy apologize, asked him what the contract said. The contract is going to be published in my 3rd book. My 2nd book is being edited right now. It's going to come out soon.
Wow.
And I'm writing a 3rd book. And the 2nd book that's being edited right now, I'm going to print the contract in there. And the contract literally, they're preparing for a breach of contract. So what the contract says in the contract is everything that Kid had contact with Enson is now going to be nullified. But up until this day, any infringements, any breaches, anything that Kid has done wrong, Enson will take responsibility.
What?
Yeah. They were trying to throw me out to the wolves, cut the line with me, and make sure that whatever happens up until that day, whatever happened up in that day, it was my responsibility.
Dude, that's like so illegal too.
Nobody's seen that contract. I didn't want to badmouth Kid. I didn't, the only reason I'm going to make it public is because it's my book, it's my story, it's my life. And I don't bullshit in my story, and I don't leave shit out.
And the blood, sweat, and heart that you put into just helping him and you know, and being his brother basically is intense, man. That would go down. Money changes people, I guess, man. You know, it's a
Yeah,
they
that's
always
unfortunate. Yeah, money.
money. They always say that the only thing that could come between brothers is money and women, right? That's the only
You
thing.
know,
So
what I believe. I believe is money and fame is a sickness. If you're not able to control it, it can overwhelm you, and it can change you. Like Kid, I think was he was not a money guy. He was more fame, and the dad came in with the money. So with the mixture of the dad coming in to push the money and him just getting a little bit too big for his britches on the fame, that just was a bad mixture.
now I don't know if, like, forgive me if this is disrespectful, because it's an honor and privilege to be talking to you. But did that lead to, like, what his dealings with Yakuza? Did that lead to you getting, because this is public and whatever I'm saying is public anyway? But did that lead to you when you got chased down by the Yakuza on the streets of Japan? Was that all linked to those problems with?
No,
No, that was
the getting run over with the Yakuza was just all separate incidents, man.
all separate stuff.
All separate
Wow,
incidents.
wow,
there's a
yeah,
bunch
man.
there's a bunch of incidents that happen. I think I on my YouTube channel that I have now, I covered one that me, Kid, and one of my longtime childhood friends got run over by a Yakuza guy, tried to run us over. So there's a whole bunch. I've beaten up 3 of them already and still alive, to talk about it. You know, I have a crazy life, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I mean, just being in Pride must have been like being like in a surreal sort of like movie atmosphere. I mean, what is it like just stepping up and hearing that doom 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 doom, the Pride friggin' that Pride drums and all of that? I mean, what is that like, being in front of 50,000 people and hearing that Pride drums come in and all of that? I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was like standing in a movie. That's what it felt like, standing in a movie. And the way they made that production, the way they made the introduction, the way the music, the drums, you know, it was so funny because us as fighters standing in the arena, just being introduced, and that atmosphere that they create, you almost feel like you're going to fight in 5 minutes. You notice a lot of the fighters start jabbing, start shadowing. It's like you're not fighting till like a couple hours later, but the adrenaline and the mood they create just makes you feel. You start staring down the crowd, and you feel like they create that freaking, like, holy shit, I gotta fight. It was
Yeah.
incredible. Pride had the best production. The way they took care of the fighters was just incredible.
Dude, I mean, I can't. Yeah, it's so true. They'll like when they start introducing, you see a lot of them put their hoods up and they're already starting to get ready, like they're just about to walk into the ring. Yeah, that's so crazy. That
Yep.
the adrenaline must be nuts, man. I mean, dude, I gotta tell
There,
you,
there
the
will never be nothing like Pride ever again.
yeah, I agree. The Pride probably, I mean, I mean, you were a part of it literally, but I consider it even better than the UFC now because of just the way that the promotion. I mean, did I mean, even though they had the Yakuza element, how did they treat the fighters? Because a lot of people talk about Dana White and all these other people that they're not really treated like they should be, the fighters. Did the Pride, it seemed like they were catering to some of you guys, like they treated you like royalty. I mean, so even like the way like Rampage and Gary Goodridge would get treated, these guys, they were getting treated like they were like superstars all over, you know?
Okay, the interesting about that is the fans treated the fighters like royalty. That
Yeah.
is, there's no mistake in that. The production itself, if you go back and look at my YouTube, I did a YouTube. We had a little podcast with Rampage.
Oh, good. I got to check it out.
Apparently, we all weren't treated the same, man. They dicked around Rampage. They made him, like, they played a lot of games on him. It seemed that I, on the other hand, because I had a lot of Yakuza friends and they couldn't use that hand on me, and they knew that I wasn't going to take shit, and I had enough power to fight them back.
Does he
They
think it's a
treated me
racist
really
thing?
nice.
Does he think it's racist reasons, or?
No, he didn't say that. I think he just felt that Pride was the biggest promotion in the world, and you either listen to us or you're not going to fight for us anymore. So more than race, I think they used the pawn that, you know, they had almost like a monopoly, because the UFC really wasn't that big a thing when Pride was it, you know. So
I mean,
Pride was where everyone wanted to fight.
could you turn a fight down in Pride? Like nowadays, UFC fighters seem to be like they'll call it. Seem like they call them up to fight, and they're like, "No, I'm not going to take that fight." Is that possible in Pride? Did they?
Well,
Did they?
this I can only tell you the way they treated me. So what happened with me was that they always gave me a choice of 3 or 4 different fighters that I could fight.
What? So you took the four best heavyweights in the world?
Like, for example, they asked me to fight in the Grand Prix, the Pride Grand Prix. And I said that I would only fight if I could fight Mark Kerr first round. Because he just beat up Hugo Duarte, so I felt like he was like the biggest beast there was. So
yeah, at the time he was the best heavyweight. Yeah.
When I saw Hugo Duarte, the guy who fought Hickson on the beach, squirm out of the ring and get disqualified because he was scared.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Wow.
I was watching that in Tokyo Dome, and I was thinking, I gotta feel that. I gotta feel that. So when Pride asked me to fight in the Grand Prix, I told them that the only way I'll fight is if you give me Mark Kerr first round, and if I win, you give me Royce Gracie second round.
Damn.
And of course, I didn't win, so I didn't get Royce Gracie second round.
I mean, not for nothing though, man. You for those that don't know out there, I mean, do a little research. I mean, I think it was like the 4 best heavyweights at the time, and some of them probably were juiced up to the gills for sure. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Like you,
well,
I mean,
know from Smashing Machine, Mark was.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. That's out in the public. He was on all sorts of stuff, and for sure was taking steroids. I mean, for sure. So, you had Mark Kerr, I mean, Igor Volchansson, Heath Herring, and Nogueira. These were the best heavyweights that the world had to offer at the time, pretty much. I mean, Pride, they had the best heavyweights in the world for sure. And I can't believe.
And believe it or not, I picked every single one of them.
That's what it's crazy. So you had a choice. You had like 2 or 3 people that they. Okay. And you picked Volchansson.
Yeah. For example, when I fought Heath Herring, they gave me a list of 3 fighters: Ken Shamrock, Fujita, or Heath Herring. And the reason why I picked Heath Herring was because Ken Shamrock just had that episode about, you know, they call it what, PD my heart, PD, you know, throw in the towel.
Yeah.
You know, when he kind of gave up and he asked PD to throw in the towel. So I thought Ken is a beast, but I thought at that time I didn't think Ken had that aura or that persona that could break me. Yeah. So I figured, okay, next guy I thought about, they asked me to fight is Fujita. Fujita, 1, is a friend. 2, he's a boring fighter. He'll take you down and hold you and, you know, pretty much win on points. So
he got a head like a moose, though. He's got a head like a moose.
So for me, Fujita was like, it wasn't interesting. And then the reason why Heath Herring was really interesting is because he just knocked out Tom Erickson. And as we know, and as Americans, Tom Erickson was one of the guys that would throw around Randy Couture, would outmuscle Mark Kerr.
That dude's like a polar bear.
Yeah, Tom Erickson was supposed to be like the next big thing in heavyweight mixed martial arts. And when Heath Herring beat him, I was like, I gotta fight Heath Herring.
Yeah. Even that dude, Ron Waterman, was a friggin' beast, right? He was like a monster.
Yeah. So that was the situation. Yeah. So like in that Heath Herring fight, they gave me a choice of Ken Sharma, Fujita, and Heath Herring. So that's how they gave me the choices to pick the fighters I want to fight.
That's crazy. So I mean, can you talk a little bit about that Igor Volchansson fight? Because that to me was like, I felt like my heart was exploding out of my chest just watching that going on. Like you literally were like ready to die going into that fight. You can even tell that's how how serious it was.
Well, my desire to fight Igor was because I saw him knock out Francisco Bueno. And Francisco Bueno's a big boy, man.
Yeah.
And Igor knocked him out cold. His eyes rolled back. And on the way down, I think Igor hit him another time.
Yeah, and he was already falling. Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is I was in the first row. His girl, that what's his name? Fuck, I just Francisco Bueno. His girlfriend or wife was next, sitting near us, and she was like screaming bloody murder because he didn't move, and it
Wow.
really looked
And
like he
Volchanson's
freaking
wife was
died in
like
the
his
ring.
corner man, right? Or his corner.
Yeah. So right there, when I saw that, I was thinking, man, that is, his punches are so dangerous, and I had this little thing in me, like, man, I gotta feel that. I gotta feel that fear. I wanna, experience that fear and see what I'll do with it. So going into the fight, I wanted to stand toe to toe with him, and that's what I plan to do. I mean, my strength is the ground, but
Yeah,
I thought I needed to feel it. I wanted to feel that fear, to be on the edge of his punches and see what I would do with it. And I won that battle because he threw me to the ground.
I agree. I agree. Yep. It's like when Conor McGregor took out Nate Diaz, in that fight, you're like, well, this
Yeah,
guy's
yeah,
like this just changed everything right there. Like this guy's saying something by doing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, for me, that was a real big fight for me because I learned a lot about myself. There wasn't a time, even when I got hit and I heard my ear perforate, it didn't, not once in my head did I panic. Not once did I think I don't want to be here. The whole thought process I was going on with was, okay, I cut him, he's bleeding, and when he perforated my eardrum, it was a solid shot, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he knew he hurt me. So I made sure. If you look at the fight again, there's a couple times when I got hit really good, I would purposely look in the corner at Egan and just say, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah.
So
You were
mine was
worried.
just
You
playing the
you
mind games, making
you didn't
sure
want
that
him
he
to
didn't
stop
know
it.
he hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, dude, that's crazy. So you were trying to have the poker face with Igor just by looking, being like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Looking at, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's freaking crazy.
And
Yeah, the
to if you watch that fight again, and then I'll tell you what the behind it. I remember, at the end of the fight, I didn't really think about that much of a position because he almost kind of pretty much got a mount on me. I remember Egan screaming and telling me 10 seconds. And all I could think in my head was, okay, let's get out of this round. He's cut bad. We're gonna get up standing. I got time on my feet again. And I'm gonna throw it out with him, hopefully hit him again and rip that cut open across his whole face. That's what I was thinking. And as soon as the round ended, I mean, he hit me really good at the time with hammer fists and stuff. And I might have actually lost consciousness a couple of times in that last 10 seconds. But I remember hearing the gong. I remember laying down on my back thinking, okay,
the
all
gong
right,
woke you up probably.
well, I was thinking of recollecting so I could just get back to my ring. And I knew I had 2 minutes. So I laid down and I said, okay, I'm out of it. Okay, now I can get back, recollect. And as soon as the gong rings, Egan's running in the ring trying to pull me up. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, I want to rest. But Egan's pulling me up. So I said, okay, I'll get up. And I guess it was a lot too fast. And I think I got a lot more damage than I thought I did. So when I started walking to my corner, I thought I was walking to the corner, but my feet, my legs wouldn't come with me. So I ended up kind of falling and sitting in the corner. And I
I
remember
remember
thinking,
this.
okay, I
Wow.
gotta recover. I gotta get my head straight. I get my head straight. We got to get ready for the second round. I remember the doctor coming to me as soon as I got to my corner, and he started shining the light in my eyes. And I was like, oh, what is he doing, man? Let me rest. Let me rest.
Yeah.
And then I heard them saying no, 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 and I was saying that's what I was telling them. No, 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 don't stop the fight. No. And I was more thinking, give me my 2 minutes. I'll look a lot
Yeah.
better in 2 minutes. So wait, don't you checking me as soon as I get back. Give me time to recover. And I remember screaming, no, no, no. And I remember hearing the gong ring and I was like, oh fuck this, stop the fight. So that was the whole thing going on in the corner there.
Yeah, and for people that's listening out there, I mean, this was a 10-minute straight first round, right? I mean, so
Yeah,
that's
probably had
and
10-minute rounds.
yeah, that's intense to fight for your life for 10 minutes. I don't think anybody realizes that's like out there, to fight for your life for 10 minutes. I mean, it's intense. I mean, and it's especially against a world champion kickboxer. I think he was a world champion, right? At the time, he was a
Uh,
champion kickboxer or something like that. I think, Will Chanson. But
Oh shit! I didn't know I could start a video. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know. I just thought I didn't.
Oh,
I just thought that you didn't want to have a video. I wasn't going to say anything.
oh no! I just thought that it was like just a voice one. So okay,
No,
well, here I am.
thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I thought you maybe you didn't want to be on video or something. You weren't feeling good or something. I was like, yeah, so no mind to me. It's just it's a pleasure and privilege just to have you. Just to have you right there. So yeah. Yeah, so that's very interesting with Igor, man. That's intense. That's really intense. And the fact that you fought Nogueira and when you didn't tap, I mean, people don't realize like that's almost like choosing to die. Because your body wants to fight that. Your body wants to say stop. I'm choking. And it wants to, but like you actually went out on your shield, which is intense. I mean, what is it like with the top pressure with somebody like that?
Well,
Just being
well,
with a gorilla like Nogueira.
well. Going back to the Nogueira fight. Tapping, tapping and not tapping is not about being tough. It's about your mindset. So the reason why I didn't tap wasn't because I was ready to die in the ring, but the reason why I didn't tap was because my focus was never disrupted. My focus when he got me into the choke was about getting out of the choke. Was about trying to open up my arm, try to relax, try to breathe, try to get blood to my head. That was my whole focus. Yeah. So, once your focus changes into fear about your safety, that's when a lot of fighters tap. So tapping isn't from pain. Tapping is the anticipation of what you think is going to happen. So if you're focused on getting out, focus on fighting, focus on, breathing, focus on, trying to get blood to your head, your mind focus will never have time to worry about getting knocked out, worry about, what if the ref doesn't see and he holds me too long and they hold the blood, they cut off the blood too long, So for me, it was just my focus. I was just focusing on getting out. I remember with the Nogueira fight, I remember when he sunk it in deep, he caught me in that combination. And I remember it was deep and I was thinking, okay, shit, I got to open up. I got to breathe. I got to relax. And I remember I'd never been choked out before. So I remember thinking, fuck, I don't even know how it feels to get choked out.
And you're thinking
And then
about this thing.
next thing I knew, Egan was in the ring and the referee was looking at me and I was like, oh, fuck. I went to sleep, man. So.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing that you just said that before you talked about the chokeout part. It's amazing what you just said, because I think that's a big part of your mindset and what enabled you to be doing is that it basically is the Bushido way. I mean, so like you just a lot of people have problems with the anxiety of just getting to the ring, the cage, the wake up. But when you already have in your mind that, you know what, I'm willing to die, I'm willing to go to that far, then what other worries can you have when you've already made that decision that, you don't care what happens, you're just going to go. That means like nothing else can penetrate that sort of force field you got around you. It's like
there's nothing more intense than death. And if I'm trained and I'm prepared to die, a broken arm isn't a big deal. Getting knocked out, passed out isn't a big deal. The crazy thing is, if you watch my ring entrance again, imagine it now. Now you know how you probably already knew doing research on me, but I was walking into that ring thinking that, I wrote letters to people that I really cared about. Wow. I wrote letters and put them up in a place that no one would find them. Only one of my students knew where it was. And it was letters to say goodbye to people that I really cared about. So during the training, before the fight, I remember a lot of times before my fights, I'd start tearing up. I don't want to say it's tears of joy. I would rather say it's probably tears of fear that today might be my last day. And, I'd have people come up to me before my fight saying, hey, like a week before the fight, saying, hey, Enson, if I fight on Friday, they say, hey, Sunday, we got a big party, come check it out. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, shoot. And thinking in my head, man, if I go to that party, it's a really good day. That means I made it through Friday. So wow. I'm walking into that ring, most people, when they know, if they accept that they're going to die in a place and they don't want to die, they're going to avoid that place. But you got to figure the feeling that I have is I'm accepting that I'm going to fight to the death today in that square ring. And I'm going to have to walk to that ring that I accept that I will die in with my own power. I mean, the stress that you feel, the anxiety that you feel is something that was hard for me to continuously experience. And the reason why I retired wasn't because I was too old. I was still young. It wasn't like I did all I wanted to do. The two reasons why I retired was, one was that after the Igor fight, I didn't feel like there was anything else that would push me to an anxiety level that I could start learning more. And I just felt that, there's nothing more for me to learn in the ring. That's the reason why I retired. There was no reason to just fight anymore.
Yeah, I don't think the average person even realized the amount of mental and physical stress that goes to even having a weight cut, preparing for a fight, all this stuff that goes. I mean, there's got to be a reason why somebody does that. Everybody has their own reason, and I think it seems like it was always a spiritual thing for you. I mean, even life and death was on the line, right? Even the amount of people that, a lot of fighters don't become coaches, but you also, like we're coaching people and helping people as well. The amount of lives that you change with that knowledge that you give somebody and camaraderie. I mean, that's a spiritual thing in itself as well. How many people have probably came up to you and said, Enson, you've changed my life. What you've taught me or what you've told me or what you've done has changed my life. And that's to me is a hero. It doesn't matter the win or lose. It's the knowledge that you've done and what you've been able to accomplish and how many lives that you've affected. Oh, that's a remarkable thing. I mean, all over the world. I mean, and for those people that just know you because you've done a Joe Rogan podcast, it's a shame because you know what I mean? Like that, because I didn't even really watch the podcast. I just saw that you were on there, but like, I'm sure that more people found you just from that, but beforehand, I already knew the type of, warrior you were. I mean, did you have, going back to Hawaii, I know it was a strong fight community before you go, you probably got to go, I appreciate you spending this time with us. Did you have friendships with all the famous Hawaiian fighters growing up, like Chemo, then BJ Penn and all these guys, or no?
No, I didn't know Chemo.
No.
Actually, Chemo's actually came out fighting before us. So if there's a pioneer in Hawaii, it's probably Chemo. BJ Penn came up after us. So BJ Penn, I knew BJ Penn, but he was a young kid coming up. Barrett Yoshida was one of my brother's students. Max Holloway was probably just too young to be fighting.
Yeah, too young. Yeah. What about Rumble on the Rock? Who started Rumble on the Rock? Those
I think
shows?
BJ Penn.
Oh, that was his family. Show.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Did that. Yeah.
Wow. That's intense.
It's really nice though, because legends like even BJ Penn, man, he still acknowledges the fact that, I'm one of the guys who, paved the road for the fighters in Hawaii. So
for sure.
It's really, like you said, I get emails sometimes, people saying that, your book, reading your mindset, helped me through a problem, or watching your fights gets me up for a hard, scary task that I have ahead. I fought because I was trying to build myself as a person, but to have that extra bonus that I could actually help people in their lives, it means so much.
Yeah. I mean, is that what made you, I mean, what made you choose to go out there in Fukushima and start helping people? Because for those that don't know out there, I mean, Enson went out during the highest level of radiation probably this planet has ever experienced, and was helping save people that were stranded and in bad situations. I mean, that's almost like I'm from New York, so I had good friends that died in 9/11 and friends that were fighters and police that were in there digging through bodies in 9/11. I mean, you went through a similar ordeal with Fukushima, if not worse, if not way worse, way worse.
I have this. I was named Yamato Damashi by the media in Japan, which means the samurai spirit. Yeah, and what the samurai spirit means is, you no matter what the consequences, you do what's right. And it's just interesting because when the tsunami first hit, I remember looking at the TV and there's a red line across the whole coast of Japan saying there's tsunami warnings. And all of a sudden there was all these, TV, all these shows showing the waves going over the houses and stuff. And they're like, oh, but they made sure they didn't show any people. So we look at, wow, it's destroying a lot of property. And then I get a call from a military friend telling me that the nuclear plants are going to melt down. You got to get out of Tokyo because the wind direction that was going that day was going to bring a real strong wave of radiation into Tokyo. So I decided to go down. I had a gym in Kyoto, so I drove down south to Kyoto. As I'm driving down, my mother's calling me, telling me to get out of Japan. And I refused to get out of Japan. I love Japan. And at the first sign of trouble, I wasn't about to abandon Japan. And she then started negotiating to me to go to Okinawa. And I was saying, I'm safe in Kyoto, but man, free paid. She was going to pay my trip to Okinawa, saying, that's not a bad idea. And I was actually considering it. And as I'm considering it, I get a call from a gangster friend that was running an event a week later that I was supposed to be a guest at. And he told me that the gangster events canceled. I said, why? And he said, because all the promoters are also gangsters. They're all driving up north to help the people up north. And right there, it strummed a weird tune in my body. It was like I felt like the weakest of men. I'm thinking to myself, okay, these freaking guys are driving into danger. And what am I doing? I'm in my car driving away, running away from it, running into Kyoto. Next day, without telling my parents, I tried to get all my supply. I had a Hummer. So I packed up everything I had in my Hummer. I went to the stores in Kyoto, bought as much, basic necessities that I could shove into the Hummer, filled the Hummer
it's
up,
like going to the zombie apocalypse, man. Oh, wow.
and headed straight up north. And it was crazy, man, driving up north. I mean, you could only get a certain amount of gas into your tank every gas station, huge lines. The highways were cracked. So every so often, the police would direct us off the highways. The only cars you see on the highways were army trucks. It looked like there was an army zone. Got to the coast, and as I got closer, the tsunami is a crazy thing, man, because it's not like an earthquake where it damages all over. You can see earthquake damage. I'm driving to the coast, getting pretty close, and there's absolutely no damage. Everything's perfect.
It's like a Godzilla, almost like a Godzilla movie. Like you're expecting Godzilla to come out of the water or something, man. It's crazy.
Well, what's crazy about that? It's almost like someone draws a line, and that's from that. Right, the next door is gone, and the thing about that is everything's perfect. I'm thinking, this is weird. My navigation says I'm almost at the coastline. Take one turn, bro, and everything is gone.
Yeah.
Drive down to the coast. There's bodies all over the place. I mean, it was like incredible. Days, and then for me, I just felt that there were so many people that needed help, and I felt, the right thing to do I was able to help. So right thing to do for me was to help. And, a lot of celebrities went and did this PR shit, and they went up like a week during the, a month after, they went and do 2 or 3 trips and never went back again.
Yeah. They just want to make people know that they did it. That's all. They went to say, oh, I helped out. Yeah.
It's over 10 years and I'm on my 60th mission up north. I've been up there 60 times.
What, dude? So Enson, are you doing it in a safe way though? There's got to be a limit to how much your body can take in radiation. I mean,
yeah, I think the body can take 60,000 microsieverts per year.
So are you getting that amount of radiation each visit?
The first 2 years I got up to 40,000 and I stopped.
Wow, that's intense.
I carried a Geiger counter. I carried a dosimeter with me. And there was a time when the dosimeter is something that accumulates the amount of radiation you've taken in. The Geiger counter gauges what the radiation level is at the moment that you're in the spot. But the dosimeter pretty much, you could be in a high radiation zone, and then the dosimeter will go up like, 0.5 dosimeters in like 1 hour. There was sections in Fukushima that the dosimeter went up like a stopwatch.
Dude, you might not know about it yet. Maybe you do. But you know what actually can help you? Certain things like copper and shungite can help protect with the radiation. I actually make, I'll send you some. I make copper products. That's what I do. That's what I do for a living. I have copper products and different stuff. I'll send you. I'll say you got a PO box or something. I'll send you some stuff.
Do you make copper beads, like 10
Yes.
millimeter beads?
Yes.
With holes in them?
Yeah, twisted copper, all that stuff. Copper coils, got it. Anything you want, we can have. Even the little copper products that go on the back of your phones.
Do you make like this kind? You see these like beads like that?
Yeah, it could be made. I don't have it exactly like that, but I got similar stuff. Yeah. Yep. You got it. Copper will help protect from EMF and radiation stuff, especially when you twist the copper. It makes like a positive energy field when you.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's this is using the sacred cubit from ancient Egypt. It's twisted inside the drill to make a positive charge within the copper. You could see even like. Yep, and these copper coils. It's similar to
wow.
Yeah, and it actually can pull pain out of the body. The copper helps pull pain out of the body and all that, man. So yeah, I'll send you some, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, for sure, brother. So I really appreciate, man, you coming on today, and and I mean, you're still going. When I talked to you the other day, you were going to Shooto. I mean, you've had a relationship going to Shooto for how like 30 years almost, right? So that's cool that you're still going to Shooto events.
Yeah, I like to support them. You know, for me, the reason why I do seminars around the world, the reason why I accept all these, you know, like your podcast, is I appreciate what MMA has done for my life. MMA has made me who I am today. If I didn't have MMA, I'd just be some dude in Hawaii with a 9-to-5 job, you know. So I love to support guys like you that are helping, you know, promote the sport, the greatest sport in the world. And, you know, I appreciate what you do. And, you know, Shooto, they have gave me my start, and I'm going to be forever loyal. My loyalty is 100%. There's no such thing as sometimes loyal. You're either 100% or zero. And my loyalty is hardcore.
I could tell. So what do you think about some of the promotions in Asia right now? I mean, some of the things that they're doing, like, I mean, in one, they're having guys fight with MMA gloves and Thai fights in the cage. What do you think about all those? It's pretty cool, right?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, I'd love that kind of, you know, bare knuckles, man. That's probably something that I would really be interested in my heyday. I mean, I'm lucky that I think when I trained and when I fought, I gave everything I had. So when I retire, I don't have that itch anymore. You're not going to see me trying to, you know, get enticed with a bare knuckle fight. You're not going to see them pulling me into the rising ring. I'm done. I'm totally satisfied with what I did, and I think I'm also a little burnt out with the training and everything that I did. So, you know, I love it though. I'm like I'm like a fan. I don't think I miss a UFC. Like this last weekend, they didn't have really any big names on the card.
Giga, I think it was. I still watch it too, man. Some people like, how can you still watch it?
Man.
I still do. And thing is, most of my channel is about like ancient history and ancient religions and spirituality. But then I have this part of me that has been doing martial arts for 30 something years. And then, so like I try to combine them both when I can, you know. I try to, because it's like, I still, you know, dude, when I first saw the IVC and, you know, in Brazil, with those Vale Tudo tournaments with the net on the bottom. They had the net on the bottom, and I saw like
the bare-fisted ones,
like Pele and Macaco and all those guys fighting. That's what got me into it, man. That's what got me into it. I have Pele scheduled for an interview.
Whoa, that's awesome.
He's here in Newark, man. He's living in Newark, New Jersey right now, right here.
Wow, you know? That's one of the old school legends, man. Pele, man.
Yeah.
What is he doing now?
He's teaching in Newark.
No shit, right all on. I'm glad he's still a part of martial arts.
Yeah, dude. All those guys are, a lot of those guys are over here, right? I just interviewed Luis Azeredo, right? He's teaching over here in New Jersey and New York, both 2 spots in New Jersey and New York. Luis Azeredo. He's teaching.
Even Henzo's in New York, yeah.
He's teaching at one of the Henzo gyms.
Wow,
yep. Luis Azeredo. Man. Yep. And I also interviewed Jason Costa. He fought in Pride. He had one fight in Pride Bushido. He fought against Takanori Gomi. They threw him to the wolves. Jason, they called him Little Vanderlei.
Yeah. I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, he's in Michigan right now teaching in Michigan, right? So yeah, like a lot of the people that I like to interview are people that, are also have coached and they explore that sort of spiritual side of fighting. And I thought that you always brought that to the table, man. And you've always been an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
You're a living legend, bro, and you're still changing lives still today. So I really appreciate it, man. And thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, bro. Thank you,
Thank you.
man.
It's an honor, man. So if we can ever do this again, maybe we could get together again in another year or whenever, we can have another interview. But yeah, let me know. Just message me if you have like a PO box or somewhere you let me. I'll send you the copper, man. It's
Right on, man. Shoot, I'll
you
give
need
you
it,
my
dude.
Hawaii address. I'm going to be going back to Hawaii in February, so
Okay,
just send
for
it to my
sure.
Hawaii address, man.
I'll send it
Appreciate
to you
that.
for
If
sure.
you send anything and be put in a bracelet like a bead or something, I can send me some extra ones that I can make something for you.
Okay, for sure, for sure. That's cool. We'll trade it.
I can
Yeah,
put it in a bracelet with some power stones and stuff,
oh, for sure, dude. If you like crystals, that's what I have too. I sell crystals and all that stuff on my website. So I'll send you crystals. I got all different types of crystals.
Check out my website, destinyforever.com. I make power stone bracelets. That's what I do now.
Oh, wow, man, we're similar. See, destinyforever.com. That's what it is.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, mine's the mysticalspiralstore.com.
No shit. Wow.
Mysticalspiralstore.com. Yeah, you'll see.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Yep. So dense. Let me write it down. I'll put it on my website, Destiny Forever.
Yeah. Destinyforever.com.
I'll put it right on my website, man. Thank you so much for coming. It's really been a pleasure, man. Enson, you're the man, bro. It's an honor to be having you here. So take care, stay safe out there.
Yeah, and hey, keep in touch, man.
Yeah, for sure. Are you still in Kyoto or?
I'm in a little bit north Tokyo.
Is that the cherry blossoms area where they have the cherry blossoms?
Oh, everywhere has cherry blossoms. It depends on the season, Yeah. So I got like 6 cherry blossom trees in my yard.
Oh my God, that must be amazing. I always wanted to be. Dude, that's awesome, bro. So
beautiful.
Be safe, brother.
Right
Take
on, brother.
care.
Thanks, man.
Take care. I really appreciate it.
All right.